In this video, I want to share some of my favorite professional studio light schemes. You can also download for free the related PDF file that you can use as a reference. I created the light schemes and the related images with a 3D software specifically designed to manage photography lighting. So, let's get started with a brief description of each scheme. 1 light close to the subject. For a traditional loop or Rembrandt effect, place the softbox above and to one side of the model. Place the softbox only a few feet away. This will soften the shadows. Take a look at the delicate shadow cast by the nose. 1 light far from the subject. Place the softbox above and to the side of the model. For the classic loop or Rembrandt effect, put the softbox at least 8 feet away. Harder shadows will result from this. Rembrandt short. To produce the triangle of light on the face, apply Rembrandt lighting principles. Angle the model's head and light it from the opposite side, so the side of the face closest to the camera is under shadow. Rembrandt broad. Apply Rembrandt lighting principles. To create the triangle of light on the face, angle the model's head and light it from the opposite side so that the side of the face closest to the camera is lighted. Rembrandt with a reflector. To form a triangle on the model's cheek, position the light upward and to the side. The nose's shadow should point to the edge of the lips. The reflector produces in hard light. Drama can be effectively created by using the powerful directional light. Rembrandt with an umbrella. Place the light up and to the side, forming a triangle on the model's cheek. The nose's shadow should point to the edge of the lips. The reflector spreads the light a little further. Flat light. For this setup, use a second light and softbox, and place both lights with the same power on either side of the subject, at the same distance, angle, and height. There are no shadows to be seen. Badger. This is very similar to the flat light configuration. Simply move the evenly placed lights slightly behind the subject to create the dramatic shadow. This creates a vertical shadow on the face, hence the name of the light. Split light. With a shadow line going down the middle, place a light to one side of the figure such that no light flows into the other side of the face. Any of the modifiers will work. You can simply use a softbox. Split with fill. As done in the basic split setup, place a light to one side of the figure with a shadow line down the center, making sure that no light enters the opposite side of the face. To eliminate shadows, place a reflector on the other side. Split short. Use the split approach, with no light spilling onto one side of the model's face, and position her head at an angle. Place the light so that the far, short side of the face is lighted and the rest of the face is in darkness. Split broad. Use the split technique, with no light spilling down one side of the model's face, and position her head at an angle. Place the light such that the close, broad side of the face is lighted and the remainder of the face is in darkness. Butterfly. Position one light squarely above and in front of the subject's face. Take note of the even shade under the nose. It's preferable if this shadow doesn't extend all the way to the top lip. Key and fill. To build a simple loop setup, place a key light above the subject at a 45-degree angle. Then, place a second light on the opposite side of the model at a lower position. Reduce its power to roughly half that of the key light. Key, fill and hair light. Set up with a key and fill first. A third hair light should be added above and behind the figure. Put a honeycomb grid in place to make the light beam smaller. Beauty setup. This is an excellent setup for beauty shoots. Place one softbox above the model in the center, and one below it in the same location. A boom arm to support the overhead light exactly above the model is useful, but not required. Colored gels. An octabox with a grid with a red gel produces a right side glow. The background is lit with a strobe with a blue gel. A strobe with an orange gel gives a pop of color. Loop. Similar to Rembrandt's composition, but with the shadow from the nose, casting a loop that points toward the corner of the mouth, rather than a closed triangle of light on the inlet cheek. Loop and a background light. Use a basic loop setup. A second light should be positioned behind the model and facing the background. To change the gradient's intensity, adjust the strength and angle. Loop with a rim light. Use a basic loop setup. Then, place a second light high behind the subject and attach a honeycomb grid or snoot to it. It should be angled such that the edge of the hair is caught. High key. Utilize a single softbox as the main source of light and place a large silver reflector next to the subject to help fill in the shadows. A strobe should be pointed at the background and turned all the way up to make the background entirely white. Hard and rim lights. Two softboxes should be placed slightly behind the subject. Place a hard light in front and at an angle to the subject using a reflector or snoot.